Hi friends, this is Caitlin and I'm so excited to share a brand new release from Sweet November Stamps with you today. I have the whole set here because I am on the design team. First up we have Baked with Love, which are these sweet gingerbread men. Then A Joyful Noise, which are these amazing singing choir angels. They're so adorable. After that, we have Bundle Up, which are these adorable, sweet little snowbirds. One of them is making a little snowbird man. So cute. And then we have the Xmas Express, which are these adorable elves that are shipping and helping Santa get everything ready for Christmas. Then we have the Horizon Lines Alpine, which has the amazing mountainscape, really pretty trees, a barn, and some sentiments. And then we have Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which is so fun because you can switch out Santa's heads to give him different expressions. And there's some cute kids and nice kids and naughty kids. So this is an amazing, adorable Christmas release. And today I have a special announcement. I'm going to be doing a giveaway from this video. Today I'll be using the Bundle Up and the Alpine Horizon Lines background set. And so I'll be giving away one of each of those stamp sets to a lucky winner that will be chosen randomly on Monday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you are interested in entering that giveaway, all you need to do is be subscribed to my channel, like this video, and leave me a comment below telling me your favorite Christmas tradition that you have with your family. So we'll go back over those rules again at the end, and I will also have them all listed in the description box for you. I wanted to tell you there is also a Instagram hop going on where someone will actually win the entire release. So my links will be in the description box for my Instagram post, as well as the Sweet November Stamps Instagram post, and you can just follow and hop along from there. It's really not a lot of people to hop through. I definitely think it's worth it for a chance to win the whole set. These stamps are absolutely amazing and I love them so much. So let's quickly get you caught up on where I am in making this card. So I stamped out that cute little bird that's sitting in the snow and this tweet Christmas greeting sentiment. And then I did mask them up, and I'm going in now with my Horizon Lines Alpine Tree stamp, and I'm layering those. They were a little bit too long. They're made for slimline, but the thing I love about these is you can use them for slimline or regular A2 standard cards or mini slimline, whatever you want. And I did layer mine one over the other so I would get all of my trees in. And then on a separate piece of paper, I am stamping in my mountain range. And that's because I'm going to actually be cutting these out and layering them up. My mountain range I also stamped in gray ink from Fawn. I wanted it to just be a tiny bit softer, so I did use gray instead of black. And now I'm going in on a third piece of paper to work on a night sky. So I am blending on Prize Ribbon Distress Oxide ink with a small blending brush, and then I'm going to be going over just the edges with some black soot. Now I did really want this to be very saturated and very dark, so you'll see I build up the color a lot. It kind of surprised me how much ink it took me to get this on there, and it's probably because of the paper I used. I am still experimenting, trying to find what paper is best for ink blending. I have my Copic coloring paper down, but the ink blending is still a little bit iffy for me. As I said, I'm going in with my Distress Oxide and Black Soot now on the top edges. And I really wanted just to give this a really dark feel to compare and contrast with the light snowy feel that's going to be at the bottom part of our scene when everything's done. I also went in with a little bit of this Dr. Brown's Bleed Proof White, which is a tip that I actually learned from Amy Young, who is the artist behind Sweet November Stamps. And a lot of times she will use this with a paintbrush to add on snow. But today I'm actually going to be watering it down a little bit and using it with a fan brush to flick on top to create my stars on my night sky. So this could also be snow, but because I only put it on the sky and I don't have any in front of any of my other images, to me it definitely reads more as stars. And I also added in a couple drops of the Lawn Fawn Shimmer concentrate. It doesn't really read much, but I thought even if it just gave it a little hint of sparkle, it would be really pretty. And now I'm going in with my Copics and coloring my mountain, that scene that's going to go up behind our little snow scene with our bird. And this gave me very Bob Ross feels while I was coloring this in. So I tried to pick as if the light source for this is, which I'm going to be really honest, I don't keep a consistent light source throughout this whole piece, but that's okay. Just within the mountain range, our light source is on the top left. So all of our shadows are falling on that bottom right hand side. This is a little opposite than normal, but once I started coloring, I realized what I was doing and I kind of just went with it. I think consistency within each piece is more important versus trying to like overthink it all. It definitely still gives you the idea of a mountain range and the shadows and highlights being in places that generally make sense. So I think it's good enough. I'm going in with my medium cool gray shades to blend out all of those shadows, and on the areas where I wanted it to be lighter on those left hand sides, I use that medium shade as my darkest shade and then blend it up even lighter. And because I don't have anything lighter in my cool gray range than the C1, I actually grabbed my BV quadruple 0 as my lightest shade. I thought that this would be really cool to give just like a little hint of purple. It doesn't really read as purple when everything's done, but I think it's a nice nod because you can see now I'm using that same shade as my snowy shadow color on this snowy field and around my little bird. So I think it's a fun way to kind of tie in those same colors, even though when you're looking at it, it might not scream that. It just kind of tells the eye that everything's cohesive. So I went in and added a couple little snow drifts, a couple little hills, and some footsteps. Now that I'm thinking about it, the bird could have just flown there and plopped down, but I like the idea of his big old boots kind of leaving imprints in the snow, and so I gave him a little walkway. And I also went in to give some shadows coming from the other side of the trees, as if there is a moon somewhere back behind that we just can't see, that's creating a little bit of shadow and light play with the trees onto the snow. Now I'm going in with some BG markers to create my little pine trees, and I wanted to give them some texture and give them the idea that there might be some flurries stuck to the trees, and I also wanted to create some depth within the scene. So I made some of the trees lighter and some of them darker. The lighter trees are going to push further back, so you can see those smaller ones in the middle. Because they're smaller and they're lighter, they really get pushed back into the scene. But also just amongst the other clusters, the darker trees will look to the eye like they're closer to you. And I thought that that gave a nice little extra dimension, even though we're going to be popping everything up and creating a lot of dimension pretty soon. So I decided to make my bird blue. I wanted him to kind of match and coordinate with the night sky that I created earlier. So I picked these really beautiful kind of royal blue shades, and I'm going in keeping his highlighted areas pretty small. I really wanted to give him a lot of depth and saturation to his colors so that he fit with that night scene. But he's so freaking adorable, and I love these because you could, again, color them absolutely however you want. You could make him a little red cardinal, you could make him any kind of colors, and he would be completely adorable. So I also wanted to give this a Christmas feel because it is a tweet Christmas greetings. So I did give him a really pretty little red knit hat, and I've been playing with learning how to do that ribbed knitting kind of texture. So we're actually going to be adding some of that in just to the band of the hat, that part that's folded over closest to his little face. So I'll be going in and letting the hat part dry first before we add in that texture. And I wanted his hat and scarf to go together without being super matchy-matchy. So I decided to go in with my warm grays to shade in his little scarf and give it some dimension. And then we'll be doing a pattern on that in a little bit after we do the texture on the hat. When you're adding in those details like a plaid pattern or the knit texture to any of your pieces, you want to make sure that you let the base layer dry so that when you go in with your markers on top, they hold their shape and you keep that pattern. If you try to do it while all of the ink is still wet, it's just gonna bleed and blend together, because that's just how Copics work. So you don't have to give them a lot of time, just enough for it to dry out a little bit so that everything kind of stays where you put it, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm going in with just the tiniest bit of pressure with my red medium shade marker, and I'm adding in some stripes vertically and horizontally all around, and you want to be mindful of kind of following those curves. So you can see I curved the one around his shoulder a little bit so that it matches how that movement would be. And then I'm going in with a white gel pen to make this more of a plaid by overlapping those lines and kind of going in between. And I just think this is a really fun little cute way to give that Christmassy, wintry feel without having to just make everything plain red. So to do this knit texture, I made ribbed lines, and I'm kind of going through and just making kind of V shapes on either side. And you can see if you layer up the marker a little bit, you get a little bit more definition. In hindsight, I wish I had made my lines just a tiny bit closer together. I think it would have looked a little bit better. But as I said, this is something that I am practicing. Amy is amazing at it, and I love it every time she does it. And she inspires me to keep trying my hardest. Even when I kind of get discouraged, it's always important for us to keep pushing and trying so that we can figure out, you know, exactly what we want our stuff to look like. Not everybody can just do it perfectly on the first try, right? So now I'm going in and fussy cutting out my top little landscape border, and I'm gonna end up going in with a dark blue marker around all of the white edges around the trees. And in hindsight, I should have made it a gray marker because this is going up against the mountain range and not the night sky. But really, once it's all layered up, you can't really tell. It just helps to kind of finish everything off, and it just looks kind of darker, which is fitting and is completely fine. So you could use any kind of marker if you wanted to kind of edge these out, and that way you don't see that extra white paper where things weren't perfectly lined up against the mountain range. And then I did the same thing with the mountain range and lined that one in gray. And you can see I'm kind of just testing out, trying to figure out exactly how I want everything to line up, and deciding which layers I'm going to glue down flat and which layers I'm going to pop up with my foam. So the other part of this is that I wanted everything to have the same matching stitched border. So I used a double stitch border from My Favorite Things and die cut each layer individually, making sure that at the end it was all going to be about that size of my finished frame. So I lined everything up and just kind of taped it on in layers to my die so that it would all kind of be continuous and that stitching would line up across each layer when everything's glued down at the end. So now it's time to glue everything down. It's the end. So I glued down my night sky first, just put that flat onto my paper, and then I held my little bottom part of my scene in place so that I could make sure the mountains were where I wanted them to be, and I just used a pencil to mark where the bottom of that paper should go. So I glued that flat down onto the sky with liquid glue as well. And then I decided to pop up just this upper area with a little bird. So I did some bigger pieces at the bottom and then cut some tiny little triangles of my foam tape just to help pop up those trees and give them some support. And then I'm gonna take off all of the tape backing and glue it down to my scene. I am absolutely in love with these two stamp sets, and I am so excited that with the support of Sweet November Stamps, I'm going to be able to give a set of these away to one of you. So if you're interested in entering this giveaway, please make sure you are subscribed to this channel, like this video, give it a thumbs up, and leave me a comment below of what your favorite Christmas family tradition is. I'll be announcing a random winner on Monday, November 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern over on my Instagram channel, so make sure you're following me over there too. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. I hope that you have an amazing weekend, and as always, happy crafting!